Getting hype when I aim up, elevating that game up, stepping up to the competition. Only first place, yeah, that's how I'm living. I'm with it till they digging up my grave, eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate. When I watch me elevate. All in when I show up, whole place about to blow up. Superior to that competition. I'm in first place, yeah, that's how I'm living. I'm with it till they digging up my grave, eating all the things up on my plate. Game face when I step up into place. I was born and when I watched me elevate. When I watch me elevate.
Broken dreams in my pocket, golden thing round my neck like a locket. Carve your name in my mind, cause you caught it, you caught it. You're golden, golden, honestly you know it. Me under the street light at the young so I could show you. You're golden, golden, honestly you're glowing. Me under the mezzanine just so that I could show you. You're golden, yeah, you're golden, you're golden, yeah, you're golden, golden, yeah. Bodies laid on the carpet, eye to eye, glistening. No, I saw it, I saw it. Freedom, I never had the chance to run. Leave behind the said and done. Figure out what's to come. Reasons, all the bigger things I can't ignore. I'm not getting what I came here for. Gotta get ahead of something more. So I think I found a new way out, way beyond a shadow of doubt. 'Cause I can't breathe. And I guess I could be stronger now and leave it up to fate somehow. But I'm doing this for me. Give it up, baby, you're not fooling anyone. Always going on and on. Can't you keep it to yourself for once? Oh, I think I found a new way out, way beyond your shadow of doubt. And I can't breathe. Oh, I hope you're keeping count of all the times you let me down, and all the things you said out loud, the bullshit I could cry about. And I know we could be stronger now and leave it up to fate somehow. But everything I do for me.
I get lost sometimes and I can't seem to find a light between the walls I built for myself right in my mind. And then you came over and you showed me love that I never had seen before. And now when I got you, it's all gonna be alright. Thinking about all the things we did tonight. What a time to be alive. Just you and I, just you and I. Only you can put the fire out. You can turn it all around. You can lift me off the ground, so we can fly again, so we can fly again. Trying hard not to go out of my mind. And all I need right now is for you to stay the night. But if you keep saying that you've got to leave, then I'm gonna be alright. As long as you tell me that we ain't running out of time. Thinking about all the things we did tonight. What a time to be alive. Just you and I, just you and I. Only you can put the fire out. You can turn it all around. And you can lift me off the ground, so we can fly again, so we can fly again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Simplay Motorsport. Apologies for the slighter than long delay. Bit of problems with the sessions. We're not loading the correct weather. We're all sorted now, and we're ready to go. It's Simplay Motorsport. It's Friday night. That can only mean one thing. It's GTE time, and it's going to be a fascinating race around the lovely Belgian circuit of Zolder. Cracking little track, this lovely little circuit. Nice layout, and I think Mazda once said it had a nice flow. I don't feel this circuit has a flow, but nonetheless it is challenging and demanding. I'm Matthew Duffin, and I'm taking you through the hour-long coverage tonight with my partner in crime on a Friday night, Jamie Brazier. Jamie, how are we?
I'm very well, thank you, Matthew. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Jamie. What we're looking forward to tonight, then?
Just looking forward to some good, clean, close racing, and yeah, hopefully we could have a new winner in the GTEs.
It will be interesting to see if we can get a new winner. The current winners of the GTEs is Unorthodox, the Only G and Vale side in the first 3 rounds of the season. This is round 4 of 6 here at Zolder, with only 2 rounds to go after this one. The season midway through now, just over. It is coming to an end, the GTEs, but it will be bringing the IndyCar in a few weeks' time. We still travel to Watkins Glen and Sakito as the game knows it, but as we all know it, Suzuka. So there is still 2 cracking rounds left, but it's going to be an interesting one tonight, Jamie. Zolder, we've not yet seen it here at Simplay Motorsport in the GT3s. We've not seen it a lot, really, in other places we've been in terms of previous leagues. But what is it about Zolder that attracts good racing?
It's just it's quite a tight circuit. There's quite a few chicanes around here, so it invites quite a lot of send-its as Andy gets very squirrely out of the final chicane. Yeah, there's some long turns like turn 2. That's very, very long. One of my favourite corners ever has to be turn 1. It's just such a lovely corner. But yeah, it's quite a good track for overtaking. Just promotes a lot of overtaking. Andy getting very squirrely as he goes.
Very twitchy in that BMW, isn't he? And you're right, a lot of braking zones. And one man who loves an overtake, or he has done in the past, not so much this series, is the man on his 50th Simplay appearance tonight, and that's this man here, the old sooty send-it master himself. Can he dust off the cobwebs that we saw last week and maybe have a go here? Now, with Sutty and Daniel Francis-Gary being a filler in this championship, they've decided to change car. They aren't scoring points. They have decided to change car, and therefore Sutty this week opting for the friendly Porsche. I wonder if that's because Gary's in the Porsche and he might be looking for a few tweaks and a few know-hows from Gary. And I can confirm he is on the wheel tonight, not the pad. He was setting up as we go. So Sutty Apex making his magnificent 50th appearance mark here tonight, but we've got a few drivers here that are going to do something quite irresistible tonight. Let me run you through the championship then. The Only G leads the title race by 7 points from Unorthodox, who sadly does miss out tonight. He isn't able to get here for this one. Vale side then, 12 points behind G. He's currently in the Corvette. Excuse me. Svalgas then in 4th place. Disco is 5th with BT Targa 6th. He's up at the Golf, so he's not able to be here tonight. Xmart then in 7th with 8th being Fury. 9th is DJ Phil, that Buzzy Boy in 10th, but he's not here. He's out at Silverstone. Andy is then P11. Nicky P12. Grandad Steacop with us tonight in 13th. And Maze Gamer 15th. With the Mutsnuts 15th. Maze Gamer... Mutsnuts 14th, sorry. Maze Gamer in 15th. place. Now, for the Mutsnuts, he scored a few good points in that first race. We saw a decent opening round from him. What can we see this week from him?
Hopefully you can see a bit more from him. He was looking a bit. We lost Daniel Francis there. Yeah, he was looking a bit nervous last week at Austria, just possibly getting to grips with the car. So he's now had a race in that Ferrari, so hopefully he should be more prepared for it and ready to chuck that Ferrari round around here tonight.
Indeed, he should. It should be. Let's see what he can do. It is going to be interesting. Oh, as he's just loosed it out the chicane there. We'll say good evening to Disco, Daniel Francis, Fury, Dean Wasaki, and Fury's granddad all in the chat. Hey, Matt Jamie. Evening, Matt Jamie. Good luck, everyone. Go Fury. Now, Fury. Let's get on to Fury, because he had a fantastic race at the Red Bull Ring last week in his Ford GT. Is he capable of getting another podium here and maybe be a bit of a nuisance? Because he had pace that was good enough to stay in front of Dan and G at times last week.
Yeah, he was bang on the money last week. He just had a small incident which just ruined the race for him. But as we've seen on the Wednesday night, he knows how to win a race. So up against the likes of G and Valeside, who we know are very good, very, very good in these cars. He's proven his worth so far.
He is indeed. Fury, 11 wins to his name at Simplay Motorsport. All have came in Season 3 at the GT3s in the Pro-Am, in which he's pretty much got one hand superglued to the title. He is making his 54th start tonight as Daniel Francis comes back in. He's making race start number 54 tonight, and that will put him one behind D Biggs, and he'll be looking to keep that good form going, if you will, from last week, and the good form of Wednesday night with a first and a second, and keep that ball rolling into next week, into Monday night where he'll be in the GT5s at Knockhill, and then back onto Wednesday night where he could mathematically win the title.
Yeah, so he might just have one eye on that, not really thinking about tonight. He might just be thinking about Wednesday. So yeah, just have to wait and see how Fury takes tonight.
Indeed, we will then. The only G will go above Don Productions today with his race start on to 26. And it'll be one off the back of Holty then, which he'll equal Holty on Monday night. A few obviously Valeside, Falguest, all sort of newcomers to the leagues. They're all on the 4 or 5 or 3 races that they've done so far, as we get Daniel Francis back in the session. So he's back in. Nice to get Daniel back in. And Valeside, currently the quickest man, 6/10 of a second quicker than Andy, and 7/10 quicker than Disco, who said in the chat last week, Jamie, he had the pace to win this race. Now, we haven't seen Disco at his best. I've spoke with Disco privately, and he's admitted that, I've not been at my best. Been a bit hard to get on and get the laps in and feel comfortable with the car and the setup and the tracks. But that pace at the minute, could we see Disco finally get over the line?
Yeah, so Disco just hasn't really had the luck. He hasn't been able to put the time in, and it's really been shown in the races where whereas most of us are fully capable with the car and the track, Disco's still finding out what the car and the track is like a few laps into the race. And it is difficult for him, isn't it, to when you're not getting that time out there on the track, to then be able to go out there and have to compete with some top drivers. It is a difficult and daunting challenge at times. Yeah, it is. So you have the likes of say for example that Bozzy Boy. He's on pretty much every night during the week practicing for the GT3. So he normally has quite a few laps in. Yeah. Get some others like on Orth does, and he puts a lot of laps in, and it shows. But yeah, the laps he does means he has really, really good pace. So yeah, doing barely any laps does mean you'll struggle quite a lot. I mean, you see the likes of Gary and that, he doesn't do too many laps. You'll see him on a few nights a week, but he won't get as many laps in as someone else, but he'll always be bang on the money. So sometimes it just all depends whether you can get to grips with the car and the track very quickly. Indeed it does, then, as we've got 41 seconds of the practice session, and then I will run you through the grid order we have for you tonight. Reverse championship standings as we know, and Daniel Francis will be starting at the back of the pack. Gary will start ahead of him. At the moment, it is going to be an interesting race tonight. It's going to be a fascinating one. Rain all the way through the night, so we're not expecting it to dry up at any moment here. It is expected to rain for the duration of the event. And if you're
Valeside, you've got to be pretty pleased with your pace at the moment. G currently 1.5 off the back here now. Is that a bit of I'm holding some in reserve, don't want to show everything all in one go for Valeside, or is Valeside just that much quicker than G at this moment around this track?
Well, I was going to say, I tried the Ford GT just before we came on air. Yeah, it was on default, but I was struggling quite a bit with it. And this circuit's not really a power circuit, unlike last week, because there's someone who's...
That's
Nicky.
Nicky.
I think that'd be Nicky, yeah. It's not really a power circuit, so the Corvette might well have the edge over the Ford GT round here.
It might have. What's interesting to see here as well is Sutty is quicker than Gary. And Gary in the Porsche GTE car, and on the wheel, Sutty currently quicker than Gary by a couple of tenths. But we know Captain Sandbags himself will always save a bit in reserve, as here he comes down the final straight across the line, and won't improve his time. But that will be it for the practice session. Just waiting for the final few cars to finish. DJ Phil, Fiore, Nicky, Falgast and Daniel Francis not setting a time, although I think Daniel Francis is actually on a lap, isn't he? So he might actually complete a time. Here comes Fiore, who will set a time as well. And that'll put in P8. Daniel Francis in the Corvette
goes P10.
There we go, goes P10. So that is your lot for the practice session. Daniel Francis 10th then, just behind the Mutts Nuts by a couple of seconds. But we're going to get straight into this race. 33 laps of racing, one added for the formation lap, in which the grid order looks like this. Maze Gamer will start on pole from the Mutts Nuts. Nicky then will be P3 with Andy behind him. DJ Phil Green will start in 5th place ahead of Fiore. X-Mart then in 7th with Disco McDisco Face in P8. Falgues will start 9th with Valeside 10th. The only G will start P11 with Gary 12th, Sutty 13th and Daniel Francis 14th place here then. Jamie, we're coming to the end of this season. We're coming to the end of the GT5s on Monday. We've got 3 weeks left of the GT3s. The season starts to wrap up. It's that time of the season where everything started to end and to finish. How good have the GTEs been with 3 races left to go still?
Yeah, the GTEs have been very good. They haven't quite been on the level of GT3s, but say the GTEs have been very good. The standout race has to be from last week. Battles everywhere, and hopefully, as they round out the season, they could give us a few amazing more races.
Yeah, we could be in for a cracker here tonight. Hopefully, no formation lap blunders like last week from that pussy boy. But we'll see what happens as we go along.
Yeah, well, whilst we're waiting, should I give a few facts?
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah, so the track at Zolder has been used for Formula 1. It's not just been Spa for the Belgium Grand Prix. This track has been used as well from 1973 to 1984, and its most famous moment is quite a dark moment for F1. That's when the legendary Gilles Villeneuve passed away in qualifying in 1982 at this very track.
So there we go then, a few track facts
for
you.
So also series that run here are the DTMs, and this is also the track that we've lost a driver.
Have we? Yes.
Yeah.
We have. Now, has somebody failed to ready up then? And that would be I can't quite see. Looking at the grid order, we've got Maze Gamer, he's gone out onto pole. Oh, no, the only G's P3 at the minute.
No,
that's the Mutts. Oh,
that's G.
Wow. Well then, there's a tale for the championship. The only G has missed the ready up because he's retired from the race. So the only G has missed the start of this one, and that promotes Gary, Dan, and Sutty to 11th, 12th and 13th. But you're right, Jamie, the only G is gone. So the grid order then should be Maze Gamer, the Mutts Nuts. I don't know if we can go through the cameras as we go through the order to make sure they're all right. So Maze Gamer, the Mutts Nuts, Nicky in P3 with Andy 4th, DJ Phil in P5 with Fiore in P6.
Yeah, Fury needs to come through. I think he's now making his way through. Yeah, there we go. G's now left the session, so yeah, that confirms that it was G who just didn't ready up. Fury's now into his
Fury
correct position.
is, yeah, Xmark then in P7, Disco Face in 8th, Falguest in 9th, with Valeside in 10th. It should be G 11th, but it's not. It's Gary, it's Sutty, then Gary, then Daniel Francis.
Oh, what's happened to Daniel there? He's a long way back. Has he got damage?
He's had an off. It definitely looks like he's had an off. And I wonder if he does have a bit of damage on that car.
No. He's gonna be a long way behind at the start. Yeah, as I was going through before, G had his problem. Oh, he just cuts the corner just to catch up. Yeah, this was also the track that Top Gear used for their Britain versus Germany battle when they were racing in the GT3s.
Well, what a start to the night. G not readying up. The game. He just messaged me saying that the game wouldn't let him, so that's a strange one.
Oh,
but
there's been a tap. There's been a tap there from the nuts on Maze Gamer. Hopefully, it hasn't put too much damage on either car.
With G and Dan missing, this really opens the door for Valeside as Maze Gamer has decided to boot away off the line, and he has gone. The Mutsnuts now coming under some pressure from Nicky in the background then as they head down into turn 1. The Mutsnuts keeps a wider line. Oh, and Nicky forces him very wide. DJ Phil, oh wow, they're all off at turn 1. There is the Mutsnuts just tapping the back of DJ Phil. Yeah, that's Gary. Wow, and Falguest. So what has gone wrong in 2 corners here? The guys are just losing everything at the moment. And Falguest, there's DJ Phil. He's had a moment.
And he's had a good start. He's up to 2nd. Fury's also had a brilliant start. He's up to 3rd.
Disco Face is P4 as well. And then it's Nicky who dropped from 3rd on the grid all the way down to 5th after running wide. Oh, that was Andy. Yeah, Andy all over the gravel here. So maybe a bit of a lost it into the chicane.
I think DJ Phil's lost it again. Yeah, he has. He's now being overtaken by... I'm wondering on what tyres people have started on. Have they
someone off in the background there? I can't quite see who that one is. I think actually I'm not too sure because Fury is well behind these two. These two have gone. Then it's Fury, and then it's Disco, Nicky, Vale, Sutty up in P7 ahead of Xmark, Dan Francis, the Mutsnuts, Falguest, Gary now ahead of DJ Phil after DJ Phil's spin. But I'm wondering if drivers are on slick tyres here, as Gary and Phil in the background on the track map look quite slow.
Has Gary got any damage? Doesn't look like it. Is Phil? Not really. I'm wondering whether...
Yeah, I wonder if they've gone slicks.
I wonder if they've gone slicks and have instantly lost pressure in the tire, or lost pressure and heat in the tyres, because they look like they're crawling round. So we might see them come straight into the pits as Andy's looking all over the back of Maze Gamer.
He is indeed, and Andy and the BMW are having a good showing with Fury gaining onto the back of these guys as well. It's an interesting 3-way fight at the minute out front, and so far, that's Nicky who's made a mistake. He's lost it in the final corner, and all of a sudden Nicky under some tremendous pressure now to get back to the front of the pack as he's last.
Yeah, he needs to get back on the back of DJ Phil pretty quickly as Maze Gamer then cuts the chicane. Yeah, I would like to know what tyres people are running, because as I found out during the opening few laps, there is a bit of a dry line that appears, so perhaps they're just, if people are on the wets, they're just burning the rears up already, or if they're on the soft, they're just losing pressure very quickly.
They are indeed, and this race has turned on its head as a few drivers who was at the front and now at the back, and there's Maze Gamer, who has a huge slide coming around the hairpin, manages to keep it together nicely then. Andy wasn't able to capitalise, but look at Valeside, P4 now. He's looking to get on the back of these 4 and get himself on the podium in this one with no G and no Dan. Time to capitalise for Vale, but Andy then into the final chicane. He's all over the back of Maze Gamer and a bit twitchy out the chicane was Maze, and Andy now looks for a move as Maze covers him off that way, and Andy's going to look at once more here, and left and right, they go down the start straight, cannot get it done, and Maze now swings it into turn 1. This is Andy's 39th race start here at Simplay Motorsport, and he's looking...
Oh, we've lost someone else. Oh, we lost Nicky now.
Oh, what a shame for Nicky then, so he will not score a point.
He backs out of it though, and Fury's going to come alongside. Andy.
Yeah. Oh,
doesn't
Andy's
quite
done well
get
there
it
to keep Fury behind him then, and these four are all battling at the front, and I say four now because there is Vale's side. Up there in the championship now in P4. Disco's doing a good job in 5th place at the minute. He's got Sooty Apex in P6 though, who is gaining on the rear of him at the moment, and Andy having to defend from Fury, and they just make a little bit of contact and both have to go over the escape road at the chicane. Just a tap on the rear from Fury onto Andy, but Andy holds on for 2nd place at the minute. And if these two aren't careful, they've got Valeside pouncing on the back, and Disco McDisco Face now coming with. Gary is back down to last, so I think Gary must have dropped it somewhere. And what a shame at the moment, what a poor start.
Yeah, what a poor start for Gary, but brilliant start for these two. Ooh, Fury got a little bit on the curb there, and it just wanted to track the car sideways. But yeah, brilliant start. I think Maze Gamer's gone deep low. Oh, Andy gets a bit of a slide. This is going to give Fury a brilliant run coming towards the final chicane.
And look at what we've got here. We've nearly got 5 for the leaders. Disco is really trying to get on the back of these two. Sooty in the background, only 2 taps slower. There you see Sooty. He'll be wanting to get onto this group, this gaggle of cars. I'm sure he'll want a podium and an interview at the end. It's been a while since we spoke to Sooty and Andy, for that matter, on the podium. Fury's been there most of this season, but Maze just able to gap Andy a little bit this lap, and Fury right on that rear bumper. Look at Disco's last lap time compared to the leaders. He is flying at the moment.
Yeah, that'd just be Disco in a bit of open air. From the looks of it, he's just keeping his distance, knowing that he won't be in the dirty air. And I think Gary's made another mistake because he dropped. Daniel Francis come in the pits and he's got a 10-second time penalty now.
I wonder if Daniel Francis has got damage to his car then, because he has struggled. He's got himself a 10-second penalty. He is off. And has he lost the car? Was he able to keep that one? I don't think he was. He has. No, you're right. Yeah,
He had kept it, but he's lost about 2 seconds to Valeside there. So
he has. He's going to have Sooty Apex crawling on the back of him in just a moment. Dan Francis and 10-second time penalty, and that will be there you see. Look, 10-second time penalty. And Daniel Francis and back of the pack at the moment. Huge incident! What has happened here? I'll look back to my other monitor, but just as you change to that, Jamie, Maze came around and has lost 4 places. Could have Sooty Apex on the back of him. Just looking back at the monitor. Yeah.
Does Andy have any damage on the front? Doesn't look like it, so I wonder whether...
Fury! Andy's gone a bit deep. Fury's looking up the inside. Andy very twitchy out the corner. Just taps Fury a little bit there. And Andy looks like he'll keep the place as Fury, though, in the Ford GT. He's going to use his power down the start straight. I'm just trying to look back for the replay. And he has done him. Fury leads in this race as we look back.
Maze Gamer's dropped to 5th as well, so it means Disco's now up to 4th.
We couldn't touch to see what happened, because I know if you hit that curb too hard, you can lose the rear of the car. So not quite sure what happened here, but Vale up to 3rd, and now on the back of Andy. So as Andy gains the lead, he quickly loses out to Fury at the minute.
Yeah, Andy was up the curb at turn 1 there, didn't get the best of exits, but he's wanting to get back in front of Fury, but down the straight, Fury's just going to be away. But on that in the infield section, that's where Andy and Valeside will have the advantage.
Yeah, Andy looks very quick coming through this part now. After this chicane, Andy looks like he's got the better car underneath him. Disco trying to get back on the pack. This has now meant that Maze is having to defend from Sooty Apex. I bet Sooty didn't think he'd be going for a top 5 at the beginning of tonight. That's Maze! That's Maze and Sooty! And X-Mart is there as well. And that is huge damage for Maze Gamer and Sooty Apex. What has happened there?
Wonder whether Maze Gamer's just lost it and Sooty's just been caught out and hit him. But yeah, they've now lost positions to X-Mart, Falgest, and the Mutts Nuts is now coming up behind. He's got a slight bit of damage from the opening lap.
Well, DJ Phil's in the pits. That's put Gary up to 10th. He could be on the back of Maze Gamer. Sooty's now down to 7th as Falgast and X-Mart have got past. And this is mean that with DJ Phil and Daniel Francis making their early stops, obviously pit window doesn't open until lap 8. But these guys obviously repairing damage. Maze Gamer and Sooty are both going to have to go in as well. And X-Mart then trying to defend from
he goes deep.
He's very deep there. And is that going to allow Falgast the opportunity? No, back on the power he gets now though. We're down to 12 drivers. We lost the only G. We've lost Nicky from this one. And there's also been some carnage by a few drivers. DJ Phil is now a lap down on the leaders, and the top 4 are still pretty much close together.
Yeah, the top 4 have just disappeared whilst all the carnage is ensued. They're they're about 15 seconds up the road. So really, they could all work together here, pull out a massive gap, and then coming into the race, just go for a massive battle as Sati Apex now comes into the pits. There's DJ Phil just exiting the pit lane, so these two will be closing in.
So Apex,
momentarily.
Maze Gamer as well there, Jamie, into the pit lane, and that has meant that these two could be in there for some time here. This could be some pit stop for these two at the moment then, but it's X-Mart and Falguest having a bit of a battle. There's DJ Phil, who's a lap down. Back to the leaders, Fury, Andy, Vale and Disco Face, who after his little spin is trying to get up onto the back of him. And Andy here just having a look. You see how that BMW's change of direction was a bit better than the 4GTs there of Fury's, and Andy just getting all over the back of him, but losing out now that the fact that 4GT can stretch its legs.
Yeah, through the corners you can just see how much the BMW gains, but as soon as you get onto the power, Ford GT just waves goodbye to everything else.
No, it's not the 50th appearance that Sooty Apex would have wanted. Daniel Francis has now got past the both of them, and Maze Gamer and Sooty Apex could be a lap down here. I don't see any movement of the two blue dots in the pit lane, but here comes Fury, Andy, Vale and Disco Face. Two BMWs in the top 5 here, looking very good value for money. And one car in the pits is away. I believe that's Sooty Apex, who is now going to come out the pits, but will be a lap down on these 4 cars.
Yeah, so normally in the GT3s, the BMW isn't the best car in the wet, but the GTE is a bit different. As I think X-Mart and Falguest were, they're very close. I thought they were side by side.
Very close, bumper to bumper as they're about to lap Phil. Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah, all this car.
X-Mart and Phil have both lost the rear of the car, and people are struggling at turn 1 today. And X-Mart and Phil both lose the rear. Phil, a backmarker, don't forget, who has passed Maze Gamer. Maze Gamer still not yet away out the pit lane. He's a lap down then and has been overtaken by Phil. As there is the Nuts about to put a lap on DJ Phil.
Andy's made a mistake because Valeside's got through.
And he may have, he must have made a mistake, unless these two just battle, because they've also dropped well off the back of Fury at the moment. Disco still lapping in the 39s. Great pace from him so far, and Andy and Disco really working hard here to try and get back ahead of this Corvette off Valeside, who is really going to capitalise on some championship points. Maze Gamer still in the pits.
Yeah, with all the carnage that's gone off. Falguest has made a mistake because X-Mart's gone back through. Yeah, he's dropping right the way down. So what's happened there?
I think he's got a bit of damage on the front left of that car. The bumper looks out of place. As we say, a very good evening to Peaceful Stepdad. Falguest does look like he's picked himself up a bit of damage. And so far, people struggling around here, Jamie.
Where's Andy? Is he?
He's in the gravel. I think, look at that wiggle there from the... Oh, no, he's in the pits. That will explain a bit there then. Andy then into the pits out the top 4. He's going for the undercut. That's released Disco Face to have a run now at Valeside of Fury. But look at Fury's lap time, 140.001. Evening to Peaceful Stepdad here. I'll say it again now. I've slowed down a little bit. Maze Gamer finally out the pits, but he's about 30 odd seconds behind DJ Phil. What pace has he got in this race to gain that time back over Phil and Sooty and Daniel Francis? As Andy still in the pit lane. X-Mart has got past. I think Gary's got past as well, so has the Nuts. I'm not sure if Andy is out. He's coming out the pit lane now, yes. So Andy is on his way out the pits, and Gary has just passed the Nuts on my timing screen. So Gary is up ahead of the Nuts.
Yeah, so Gary, after a shocking first couple of laps. It's Vale.
Vale and Disco coming out of the chicane onto the left-hander. They've both had a bit of a spin. Vale onto the grass, Disco onto the grass as well. And Disco's not yet pointed in the right direction. There's a car about to unlap itself. And that's Falguest.
That's Sooty.
No, that's Sooty. So it looks like it's repaired the damage. It's not done it visually, but Sooty. Cars are struggling here. Not sure what is happening, but these cars are starting to struggle at the moment. And that is Vale and Disco losing more time to Fury, but Disco losing out massively there. And a few more mistakes like that, he could fall into the clutches of X-Mart.
Gary's just had a twitch there. Yeah, I was going to say, as I was saying, Gary had a shocking opening couple of laps, but he's managed to work himself back up to P5. But yeah, it looks like everyone is struggling out there tonight. I tell you one man who'd have loved these conditions. Davis.
Yeah, unorthodox would have loved these conditions. Look at
Gary
Gary, must have made a mistake at the hairpin, and here comes the Nuts side by side with Gary 131 with Falguest in the background. This is all for position at the minute. There you see Andy, who has pitted, and that is Gary diving in the pits.
Yeah, the Nuts has gone a bit deep there. Falguest is going to look for the cutback. He's going to be on the wrong side of the turn. He got a bit of a twitch there. I don't know whether he's got through or not.
No, he hasn't. Look at the Nuts keeping Falguest honest. We've seen a few people lose it through turn 1, so you've got to be patient. And a bit of a twitch here mid-corner for Falguest. Keeps it all together. There's Andy in the background. He's already pitted. He had a bit of a twitch as well. Yeah. It's very, very tricky out there tonight. Very, very looks greasy as well as wet. A lot of drivers struggling. Fury's gap into the Fury into the 139s. If Fury's granddad and Fury's mum are here, they'll be loving this one. Could he get his first GTE? We're meaning that we've had 4 winners in 4 races. It's a bit like the British touring cars. Yeah, that's what we want. We want the championship to be as close as possible. Peaceful stepdad in the chat. Keep it going, Fury. Keep it going indeed as these 3 come through the first chicane. And that is turn 4 and 5, I do believe. Turn 5 and 6, maybe. Yeah, turn 5 and 6, and down into 7 and 8. Oh, the Nuts! Just took too much curb on the chicane, and he's gone straight on at the second part of it. And Andy right on the back of Falguest now, Jamie. Let's not forget, Andy's already pitted, so the quicker he can jump these guys, the better. Fury's mum is in the chat. Keep it up. Fury is on the grass! Oh, and how has he got that done? Andy must have just got on the grass, just lifted off the throttle, and as soon as he get back on, just slam the anchors on. Because if he tried to put any power down on that grass, he would have been round, and he probably wouldn't have been very happy with that one. Fury's granddad, I'm here too, he says. Yep, they're both here, they're both cheering him on, and I tell you what, he's doing a cracking job at the minute. Lap 11 of 34, obviously the first one, a formation lap. And at the minute, Falguest overtaken brilliantly by Andy. And Andy's pulled away a little bit here from Falguest. Now, Andy, on a different strategy to the top 3. Well, top 4, I should say, because Xmart's not pitted yet either. But Andy not far off the back of Xmart, only 7 seconds. Where's Gary? He's 1 minute 8 off the lead, but yet quite away behind the Nuts. But the Nuts not yet pitted. So top 7, bar Andy, haven't pitted. Andy is the lead car who has stopped. And it's Daniel Francis, Sooty Apex, DJ Phil, Mace Gamer, who just cannot seem to catch well, he gained 3 seconds last lap, but not enough. There's a yellow flag somewhere. Don't know who it is for. Oh, it's Mace Gamer. He's lost it again. Yeah, a bit of a spin, and I think the car behind him has as well, because that's someone who's come out the chicane again. Not sure who the car is who's lapping Mace Gamer, but they also look like they lost it. The dot just stopped on the map for a second, and people are just struggling here. Yeah, everyone's really struggling, isn't it? It's not the widest circuit, and people tell you when you're in the wet, you want to take a karting line, stay away from the white curbs, or stay away from the white line and the curbs. But around here, you can't really. It's too narrow for you to go anywhere else. It is, and I'm just wondering how much people are struggling because of these wet conditions. It does seem like a few people are struggling here, and I just wonder what the situation's going to be as this race continues. Then, as over the line come Falguest and Andy, still driving here, still going around at the moment, and so far so good if you're Fury. Someone else has made a mistake. Disco, was that Disco? He's dropped well off the back of Vale side. I think he was the one who spun with Maze Gamer. Right, that would explain a few things then. Car into the pits, who is that? That is the Nuts then coming in at the end of lap 11. The outside is closed in quite a bit. There's a car in between, which looks like that is Gary 131, who looks like he's going to get past the Nuts as he's in the pit. So it looks like Gary will make up a position here. He's got a bit of damage though, as Xmart's made a mistake. Oh, he has as well. And where is Gary then to capitalise on this? Xmart's going now. He looks like he's got a bit of damage. Gary is only coming round. Where is Gary? Yeah, he's only just come around turn 2. So Gary here struggling. And the Mutt Nuts is still in the pit lane at the minute, so maybe a bit of damage for him to repair after he had a moment earlier on. He's now coming out the pits as Daniel Francis has got past him. Will that allow Sutty to catch the Mutt Nuts? We'll have to keep our eyes on in just a moment. But Vale side with Gary in between. Yes, who is that? That's a lead. Someone on the lead lap. Disco in.
Disco. Vale side was pretty much a second quicker than Fury that last lap. But he looks like he's. It says on my screen he's about He's 2.4 behind Fury. That does not look like 2.4 seconds.
It doesn't.
To me.
Gary in between as well. What's Gary lapping? Well, Gary had a bit of that. Was that Gary's out lap last time round? X-Mart straight into the pits as well.
Oh, we've lost someone else there. I think it's Maze Gamer we've lost.
We have lost Maze Gamer, and no points still for Maze Gamer as he's not got to 3/4 distance. Maze Gamer then not what he wants at all in this one.
I think Gary's just either made a mistake or he's just let the leaders through because he's just dropped right off the back of Vale's side there.
That's Sutty.
Sutty and the Mutt Nuts, and the Mutt Nuts just goes right the way around the outside.
Them two had a great battle last week when Sutty was in the Ferrari as he's going to try and dive back, and that sounds like there's a car off in front, and I think that's Daniel Francis who's had an off. He gets going again now. There he is, but the engine sounded a bit slow to get going to me. And Paul Mays Gamer had a spin at the chicane. Oh, we didn't see what happened at the chicane, but had a poor start. Got bogged down from first, and Mutt Nuts into the gravel. Can Sutty come back at him? He'll have the momentum coming through the corner, but will he have the straight line speed to get the job done? Gary didn't get past X-Mart in all that, as Sutty does get past the Mutt Nuts. Gary then still behind X-Mart. Disco is now P5, and the Mutt Nuts. Oh,
yeah, he just goes very wide. He just
struggling.
He just didn't thought that he was not going to get the car stop, so he just went straight on and just thought, I'll try and get.
Oh, Fury! Fury, the race leader, 2.5 seconds. Oh, who's that? Is that Falguest? That's Gary, isn't it? It's Gary.
Gary.
Did he get put off by the wiggling forward of Fury there, or what happened? But Gary's in the wall, and this could allow Daniel Francis Sutty and the Mutt Nuts to catch up. And Fury then, who was well in the lead of this race, who's still got to pit as well at the moment, is now 5.6 off the back of Vale's side. Lost it on his own. Well, we're not quite sure as X-Mart moves out the way and lets Fury lap him then. Gary is now 10 seconds ahead of Daniel Francis and Sutty Apex, and this is not going the way of what Gary or Fury would have wanted in this one. Sutty's back still ahead of the Mutt Nuts at the moment. Can he keep hold of this one? We saw this is where the Mutt Nuts drove right around the outside of him just a moment ago, and he's got to try up the inside this time.
Yeah, so he's going to defend. He defends quite late, but the Mutt Nuts is already there. And there's a bit of contact.
Yeah, a bit of contact. Looks like that as X-Mart then back into the pit. So X-Mart, did he not repair his damage? That could allow these guys through and X-Mart to drop down the order. But so far, Sutty Apex, bit of late defending with the Mutt Nuts' nose up the inside.
He goes up the inside, Daniel Francis. So Daniel Francis really struggling.
Yeah, Mutt Nuts has got Daniel Francis as well, look.
I wonder whether Daniel Francis has just tried to do something different. It's just not really working because he just doesn't look like he's got any traction at the corners whatsoever.
So them three have all passed X-Mart in this one. The Mutt Nuts very wide onto the gravel. Out to turn one and has a huge spin. And he's luckily not to connect Daniel Francis there as he spins the car back round and heads on his merry way once again. He's got to try and catch them two up. Gary now up into P6, but he's well behind Disco, a good 31 seconds behind Disco McDisco Face. Who's left to pit then? Just Fury Vale side left to pit. And Falguest, sorry. So Fury, Falguest and Vale side left to pit. Will Gary get Falguest? Oh, I don't know. That's a long pit stop for Falguest to have. Excuse me, if Gary is to catch him here. But Fury then, has he had another moment? Because the gap's now 15 seconds.
Yeah, his last lap was 10 seconds slow. Oh yeah, he's had another mistake. Or had another incident because he's now missing a front headlight, and he's got Gary all over the back of him again.
You say he's missing a headlight. He's got both on my screen, so Project Cars 2 at its finest, because I can see both. I'm sure they're both on the stream as well. We'll see when it gets to it. But yeah, at the minute, and Fury, keep it consistent. Fury, plenty of time, says Fury's granddad then. As we're coming up to half distance, Fury banging one into the pit lane now and getting this job done as soon as he possibly can. So just Veilside and Falgas left to pit. Fury then has been released down the straight. Oh no! Oh no!
What's that? Oh no! What's happened there? Is that that'll be the AI in control?
I've not seen Fury in the pits.
Yeah, he's got the pit eye. I know, so that will be him because he'll have.
Yeah, it's manual pit entrance, isn't it? 'Cause that's why Daniel Francis got.
Rear wing as well.
Oh wow! Fury's race has gone from bad to worse. Just when look at the damage he's picking up here, and Fury's race has turned into a nightmare. Then what could have been a podium that is slowly slipping away as Falgast has now got past Fury. Andy has now got past him. Andy could be net first of this race depending on how long a pit stop Veilside has to have. But what has happened to Fury there? Caught the little mobile chicane in between there, Peaceful, and that has ruined his race.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have another Dean Wasaki moment from Long Beach season 2.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The question is, where's Gary as Disco flies past?
Gary's halfway around the track, so
that's doable for Gary. He's got 3 corners. Oh, we've lost the Mutts Nuts. Oh, what a shame.
I think he must have had a mistake because X-Mart was then catching him and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, what a shame then for the Much Nuts. Gary then could be ahead of Fury here. Oops, says Fury's
way out.
Oh, I tell you what, that's a good stop to say he had big damage on the front and rear. I don't think Gary will get him now. Gary's just coming out the final chicane. Fury's now away.
There's Gary, he's now come.
Nicky in the chat, Fury doing an Austin Powers. So we're down to 10. We're down to 10. Fury out the pit lane there then, so he's done a good job. The crew have done a good job to get him out ahead of Gary, 3.4 ahead. And Gary must be thinking, what is Fury doing right in front of me now? But yeah, that's the situation at the minute. X-Mart then will be looking to catch Daniel Francis. As such, Apex 10 seconds behind Gary. Gary 3.5 behind Fury. But Disco and Andy, they're the ones that might be rubbing their hands together for a double BMW podium here.
Yeah, so awful luck for Fury there, but Veilside is away and gone. He's the only one in the 140, so I can't, unless he has a mistake. But I don't think he's the only person, I believe, who has not made a mistake.
No, he did. He had a little spin at this part earlier with Disco. Had a little moment onto the grass after coming on the exit to the chicane, and
I was then going to say I'll say that, and Veilside will have a massive mistake, and be curse of the commentator all over again.
100% it would be. As Fury then doing a cracking job at the moment. What can he do though in the rest of this race? There's a Porsche in the background who looked very squirrely, and that was Gary coming through the hairpin. As Fury then has to get his head down for this final part of this race. He's got to make sure that he keeps the pressure, or keeps pushing and starts to put that pressure back onto Disco, who's 27 seconds up the road from Fury.
Yeah, his target now is going to be Falgas.
Falgas got to pit still.
Yeah, so his target is going to be getting out in front of Falgas, and he's about 35 seconds behind. So if Falgas has a lengthy pit stop, that could be the case.
We'll have to wait to see what Falgas. Veilside's still got to pit as well, but he's currently flying at the moment. Here's Andy in P2, who again in the 41, so just can't put them laps in with Veilside. In that clean air, does that BMW maybe need a slipstream from somebody? Because in that clear air, it's about a second slower than Veilside at the moment.
Yeah, so the BMW just doesn't have the straight line speed. I mean, the Corvette doesn't have as good straight line speed as the Ford GT, but I think the Corvette is just that much better in the corners that Veilside's just able to find that time. But yeah, Andy's in the 141s. He's the only person in the 141s. We say about Veilside in the 140s as Andy hops a chicane. Everyone else is in the 142s.
Yeah, Valeside and Andy doing a good job at the moment. Fury's obviously just done an outlap. Daniel Francis, the next one, down in the 49s and 48s. DJ Phil in the 56s as Andy steadily through the chicane and now can start to put his foot down again and start to move on his way. Trying to close that gap. He's pulled a little bit back on Valeside this lap. But Valeside at the moment just cruising a little bit here. Fury 11 seconds now ahead of Gary. Gary 10 seconds ahead of Sooty Apex. So Fury straight back into the 1 minute 40s on his first proper lap there then, Jamie. Fury not hanging back and getting straight on that pace.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so yeah, he's knowing he needs to bring the gap down to Falgest and Disco to have any chance of a podium.
We said about 4 winners in 4 races a moment ago. It looks like Valeside's going to take his second win. He's got to pit still, and this man will want something to say about that. He's closing that gap just slightly to Valeside. Was a couple of tenths quicker last lap, so Andy putting one in the 1 minute 40s now as well. So just starting to up his pace a little bit. That fuel load getting lighter and lighter every time he does a lap. So he's just looking now to get himself into a position where Valeside may have to start worrying, as Valeside, I think, has lapped a car. Oh no, Andy's off! And a huge hit with the wall there. A huge jump with the wall. Bounces him back onto the track, but he'll have some damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, he'll have a lot of suspension damage. Yeah, Valeside now comes in, and he won't know what's happened to Andy, but Valeside is going to have probably around about a minute lead, so he could stick it in first gear for the rest of the race and he'd probably still win.
He's doing a fantastic job. Will Andy pit? Does he have damage? I mean, that car looks a bit worse now. It just seems to be handling a bit dodgy now. But Andy, huge hit with the wall there. Still on though for a podium. Daniel Francis still well ahead of Exmar at this moment in time. And so far, if you're Valeside, it's all looking good. He's not yet, though, on his way out the pit lane. He's just moving now. So Valeside is just coming out the pit lane at this moment as we speak. And Andy then still only coming into that chicane, staying out. So choosing that the damage doesn't seem too bad, maybe.
Yeah, the damage might not be too bad, but he can work around it. We'll see what his lap times are compared to Falgest.
Well, he still did a 45 in all of that, so he didn't lose too much time off and hitting the wall and sort of bouncing back on the track. Falgast then 9.2 up the road, but the crucial part is Andy is now carrying damage. Falgast still got to pit. Valeside leads this race. Disco then is P4, but he's got a Fury who is going to be angry and hunting him down. Falgast then is somewhat good 40 odd seconds, 30 odd seconds up the road from Fury, so he needs a lengthy pit stop, and it's a long old pit lane, this one, because you kind of have to go right round the outside of turn 1, a bit wider than normal before you head back to the track.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me a bit like Long Beach.
Very long pit lane.
Yeah, and that pit lane was very long, and but this one, it's quite unique, this pit lane, that it makes you go right the way round. It means you need a bit more time over the person you're trying to stay ahead of.
Indeed it does. Andy just onto the grass. We saw him make an overtake there earlier on, lap 20 of 34, so still plenty of time at the moment to keep going, and he has just dropped a little bit off of Valeside's time at the moment. Valeside did a 1 minute 48 as an in-lap, so I mean that's not a bad in-lap for Valeside. As he crosses the line, what will his out-lap be? A 2 minute 18, so not too bad compared to what we've seen elsewhere on the track. Gary is now only 8 seconds ahead of Sooty, as he's about 9 seconds off of Fury. So as he just started to catch Fury a bit, he was 2 seconds quicker last lap was Gary. So Fury just maybe pushing a little bit too hard, starting to overdrive the car. There is Gary about to lap DJ Phil in a minute.
Yeah, Gary won't want to make any mistakes because he's got Sooty about 7, 8 seconds behind him. So yeah, Gary makes one more mistake, then he'll have his old nemesis, Mr. Sooty Apex, all over the back of him.
Fury's granddad in the chat. It's even longer if you crash on your way into the pits. It is even longer. It's DJ Phil. Oh no, that's Fury! Fury's made another mistake, and he's a bit wide now. Does he have a bit of damage? Gary will be all over the current Pro-Am leader, and the two-time Pro Champ is going to pass the Pro-Am Championship leader up the inside of the hairpin. Gary's gone deep, and Fury cuts back up in front. I tell you what, we saw the Much Nuts do that a little earlier. Just go up the inside of Sutty later on the brakes, and it seemed to sort of straight line, go deep, make him go deep. I wonder if there's a puddle on the inside of the line into that corner. And the Much Nuts did a similar thing with Sutty, and Gary's just done the same thing to Fury. But Fury, well, does he have damage on that car? Gary then has got an opportunity to maybe break into that top 5. We are still awaiting Falgast into the pits, and Fury, is he just starting to push too hard? Oh, wide twitch round! Fury's gone! And Gary! And for the second time in 3 weeks, Gary's had a car roll backwards into him. And if that bossy boy's watching, he'll know what I mean.
Is Sutty? He's got the leader just behind you. He needs to let
he's gone wide there. Look to slow down and let the leader through. But now, what damage does Fury have?
Fury's got a lot of rear end damage. I think
Do you think Fury's mistakes now are because he's overdriving the car?
Yeah, I think he is. What I also think he's done because of the amount of mistakes he's had. He's burnt his tyres up. You look at
Falgast in.
Gary's
round.
Gary's burnt his tyres up during that spin.
Gary round then, and that has allowed Sutty Apex ahead of Gary 131. And where's Fury? There, Fury, look, was racing Vioside not long ago for the race lead. He's now about to be lapped by him. What damage does Gary and Fury have?
Disco now up into third.
Yeah, just about to say Disco third ahead of Falgast. And Falgast should keep hold of 4th place, really.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, you see, say for example, that Aussie boy at Silverstone made a mistake, burnt his tyres up, and he just constantly kept spinning it.
Look at Gary in the background, very twitchy.
Yeah, so I think Fury's done the same thing as what Liam's done. He's made a mistake, then thought, I need to push even harder to make up for that mistake.
Gary's in the pits, look, so he's got damage.
Fury's must not be too bad.
No, I wonder if it's because it's on the rear. It's not as bad. What was his last lap? 1:50. I say that. Just looked a bit sketchy going into the corner there. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on Fury's as he goes along this race.
Excuse me.
He's wide. Yeah, he's wide. He's going to come on Veilside, having to slam on the anchors there. As Fury came onto the track. Fury obviously letting Veilside through now and doesn't race him. And Gary, I think he's on his way out the pit lane.
Fury a bit wide over there. That's going to give Sutty a bit of an opportunity. I don't think through here. It's not really an opportunity, overtaking opportunity. This chicane, he'll look. Fury's round.
Fury's round, and where does Sutty go? He has to go over the curb to avoid Fury then. And Daniel Francis has got himself ahead of Gary. Gary now, I'm not sure where he is on track, but will he be battling X-Mart? No, 51 seconds to X-Mart. No, that's not right. 51 seconds to X-Mart. There we go. 29 seconds to X-Mart. And 3.4 to Daniel Francis. We'll get Daniel Francis because of Daniel's time penalty. But Gary got to keep pushing to the end. Fury now struggling and starting to struggle that little bit more. And you feel that with every spin, it's burning his tyres up. Maybe he could just do with pitting, repairing the damage, and letting them tyres just cool down a tad.
Yeah, he just needs to calm the car down. He's burnt the tyres up. He just needs to let the tyres cool back down and just go at a normal, reasonable pace, and he could catch back up to Sutty Apex. But pushing the car really hard and making tons of mistakes, that's just not going to help your cause whatsoever. It's
not, as Gary's got himself back ahead of Daniel Francis then, and Gary getting that one done. Daniel just started to find a bit of pace here, lapping in the mid 140s now, so just started to bring his pace down just a tad. And deep again into the hairpin there. I swear down, the inside line sort of at the hairpin, he's just taking a few drivers deep here. As is that's Disco in the background. He's about to lap them. Yeah, he has got damage, hasn't he? But Clearly feeling that he can carry on. He's got 11 seconds back to Falgas, but clearly feeling he can carry on here.
It just looked like he had a big lock up there. It looked like the car was just going to go straight, but I don't know whether that would be damage from before, that it just hasn't fixed visually, or that he's made another mistake, because he is quite a long way back off.
Yeah, lapping in the 44s as well. I've just noticed that he's done a 44.3.
Yeah, I think he must have made a tiny mistake there, but I think Xmart might have made a mistake there, because he's now got DJ Phil all over the back of him.
He has indeed. So Xmart battling against Phil here. There's Valeside. That, I believe, is Gary. No, that's Sutty. Sorry, apologies. So there is Sutty then.
I think Sutty's got the white banner and Gary has the black banner.
Which one's Falgas? Because there's only 2 liveries for the Porsche on this.
Falgas has got a white banner as well. I forgot Falgas was in the Porsche. He's just having a quite quiet race now.
Yeah, he's on his own in 4th place. He's got 11 seconds to Disco, 23 back to Sutty, so he won't want too many mistakes, because he could maybe challenge Disco here for a final place in the last couple of laps. We've got 10 to go here. And if Disco is carrying some damage, as he's made his way to lap Daniel Francis and Valeside's Corvettes are probably the 2 cleanest cars on the grid, on the track at the moment.
So the Corvettes are just not making any mistakes in these latter part of the race.
Here's X Martin. Has DJ Phil on the back of him. Not seen much of Phil tonight. So a chance for Phil. In fact, Phil's got a quite clean BMW, hasn't he? Phil trying to show what he's capable of. Can he find a way past? He's obviously...
Valeside just had a little slide. So I say about the Corvette's not making a mistake, and he goes and makes a mistake.
Phil!
DJ Phil's gone round.
Oh no, he saved it. Oh, he must have saved it. I thought exactly the same as you, that he'd spanned there, and he obviously hasn't. He's saved the car and he's kept it pointing in the right direction.
If he has had a bit of a slide, then that's a very good save from DJ Phil.
It is indeed, as there is a lapped car coming through. Is that? Yeah, that is Sutty Apex, who is on a mission here to try and gain on Falgas with a few laps left. Mace Gamer disconnected from the session. Obviously retired a while ago. DJ Phil very deep. Oh wow, and blocking a bit of fury there. Yeah,
he just looked like he got locked up and then just got on the gravel.
I tell you what, we said about Disco Face last night about when it rains it pours. Maze Gamer missed 2 races, round 2 and 3. In fact, didn't ready up in time to start last week. Missed round 2. Scored no points in the first round and has scored no points here. So at the moment, no points in this GTE Championship for Maze Gamer at the minute. And only 2 starts to his name. So that is not what he wants here at all. And really, you've got to say that it's not the way he'd have wanted this season to go, is it?
No, it's not the way anyone would want their season to go. But as in motorsport, some people just have the most unfortunate, like, oh, and DJ Phil just lost it there.
Yeah, bit too hard over the curbs there, and as he's gone round.
And, there goes Andy.
As DJ Phil, while we're on board him, in fact, let's give him a shout out tonight, because he becomes the leading appearance maker here at Simplay Motorsport with 67 official race starts to his name. Oh, Fury's had another moment. Where's Gary? 37 seconds. Oh, Fury's car is crabbing.
Yeah, that's crabbing. That sort of looks a bit like my car last night.
It does a little bit. That is going to be into the pit lane, you'd imagine, this lap. Is this going to give Gary a P6? Fury's night has gone from bad to worse.
Gary's made a mistake.
No, Gary's off. Yeah, Gary's pointing in the wrong direction. He's in a wall.
So Gary won't be closing in. Where's Daniel Francis? Daniel Francis is now coming.
I tell you what, Daniel Francis here, depending on how long Fury's pit stops is, could be in for a couple more places over Gary and Fury, even with his time penalty. Fury is in the pits. Don't hit that wall. Don't hit that wall. No, he's got round the wall this time. Fury's granddaddy. He's done it this time. He's got round the mobile chicane. Long old pit stop now. So where is Gary 131? He's not even halfway around the track. But look at the damage to that car.
Oh, he's having a bit.
Yeah, Gary's struggling.
Daniel Francis. He's just driving quite sensibly.
Steady.
Yeah,
just not pulling up any trees, not driving too slow, just nice and steady. And it could gain him a few extra places in this race, Jamie. But back to DJ Phil. He is the leading appearance maker in official events. No fun off-season events. In seasoned events, DJ Phil is making his 67th race appearance now, which puts him one in front of Little Leach and Peaceful Explosion. So hats off to DJ Phil. His teammate this year is actually fourth on that list, is Dean Wasocki, and they'll both make an extra appearance on Monday night with Little Leach and Peaceful Explosion. But it was Stovslav and Argent and Welshie before the season started. It's now Little Leach it's now DJ Phil on his own with tonight, and he'll pull that gap two more times in front, 2 more races in front of Peaceful and Little Leach, because he's in the GTEs. And them two, unfortunately, are not. Gary, one behind Welshie and Stovslav. So if he races another GTE, he might be on the money then. As Fury's out the pits, Gary's back in the pits. And Daniel Francis is only 7 seconds off the back of Fury. But we know Fury's got a few mistakes in him for overdriving that car. And at the moment, Daniel will be well in front of Gary. Where's Exmar, out of curiosity?
Exmar is now coming.
He's going to pass.
Gary's on.
Yeah, no, he's going to pass Gary. He's passed him there,
DJ Phil's not going to get him, no. But yeah, Gary's now down to P9.
Gary really struggling in this one at the moment then, as Fury Grandad tried lapping Exmart and touched the curb, and boom, says Fury. He did it, says Fury's Grandad. It's all happening this evening, says Peaceful Stepdad. Well done, DJ Phil, says Fury's Grandad. I presume that's in relation to the leading official starts for Phil.
Oh,
Gary! Straight out the pits onto a puddle, and round he goes. How's your luck?
He won't want to watch that one back.
No, he won't want to watch tonight back, I don't think.
If only he could have this on a Thursday night.
Yeah, I think you need a few more than just Gary, though, to have this kind of look on a Thursday night. As Gary then continues on his way. He's 15 seconds behind Exmart. Can he get on the back of him? Exmart, though, let's go on board him. What's his gap to Daniel Francis? That is 16 seconds. So he needs about 6 seconds in this final part of this race to get himself a P7 in this one. It's been a quiet night for Exmart. A few incidents, but a quiet night for the Pro-Am title contender, promotion contender, in 3rd place in the Pro-Am at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, he looks like he's taking it nice and cautiously around the track, trying not to make any mistakes. Yeah, he might not be the quickest person on track, but he's keeping it on the track, which some of the other races aren't even doing.
Now, has Andy and Disco made a mistake somewhere? Because Andy's now 46 seconds off the back of Valeside. I mean, the car doesn't look too bad. Disco did a 1:55 last lap, so Disco definitely made a mistake last lap and has got foul gas
as well.
Yeah,
he must have done as well.
Andy's car looks a bit dirty as if he's ran wide, but it doesn't look too bad visually. So, like you say, he must have done.
I think he's got a bit of damage just on the bottom sill of the car. There's a bit
twitchy. Saying that, Andy's car's been twitchy all night. Sutty was 7 seconds quicker than Falgast, I've just noticed, on the last lap. So Sutty apex here. Could he be on for a late charge for a P4 then? 6.8 to Falgast. Falgast to 1:48.1. Would that mean that he's made a mistake somewhere in his Porsche? But can Sutty gain on the back of him? Who is that behind Falgast, who seemed like he was struggling? I think they've had a spin.
It's Daniel Francis.
Francis, yeah. As he
again, he's not got any damage on the car.
Car doesn't look to be too badly damaged, does it? So it's just maybe a spin and nothing more than that. But Fury's coming for. Oh, he's deep there. Yeah, the Hankook tyres. I think they look like Hankooks. They're not doing him so well in the wet weather at the minute. But Falgast could be under pressure. Fury's off. He's on the gravel. He's on the track. He's round. He goes on the pit entrance. Puts the brakes on because here's Disco. Valeside's approaching. He needs to get out the way. Get out the way. And he does so as Valeside approaches end. Now, if Daniel Francis didn't have his spin, maybe he could have been on the back of Fury here for an extra place. But he's nowhere near him. Still 16 seconds off the back of him at the moment. Fury then lapped by Valeside, who's on lap 30. Fury is 2 laps down when at one stage he was challenging for this race lead. Falgast got caught by Sutty by another 3 seconds last lap, and I thought Fury went off for a moment there, but he obviously, if he hit a puddle, he managed to keep it.
He looked like he's had a massive twitch, but he's lost it
Oh, he's
now.
off again! He's off again! Round he goes!
He's constantly... all these spins, though, he looks like he's just pushing it, the car far too hard. Here comes... Who's that behind? I think that might be Gary. No. Is that Sutty?
Falgast. It's Falgast, because Sutty is there. Falgast on the back of Fury. 4 points. Fury's round again. Again at the curbs he's round. What a shocker from Fury at the minute.
He's well and truly burnt his tyres up.
I wonder if he's still having a problem here, because he did say that he was... Has he caught Sutty? I think he's caught Sutty, yes!
Yeah, he's caught
Oh
Sutty.
no! So Fury's caught Sutty apex there then, and that has really ruined Sutty's chances at a P4. Oh, what a shame. I was just about to say about Fury, he said on Wednesday night that his engine kept cutting out on him at times in the end of race 1 or race 2, and he kept losing the rear of the car as his engine kept cutting out. I wonder if he's having a similar problem tonight.
Yeah, he might well be, as Daniel Francis has now passed him as well.
He's got to get 10 seconds in front though, hasn't he? And he's only 2.2 from Fury at the moment, so Fury will need a couple more spins. Let's listen to Fury. Let's load the speedo up and go on Fury's on board to listen to his engine for a bit. Let's get the onboard shot, Jamie, because we can hear the Corvette as well. Let's try and get Fury's...
Doesn't seem to be cutting out or anything. I think he might have just... It might have just been that he was burning the tyres out.
Yeah.
Because it all seems fine now, so it might just be that he was constantly spinning the car and not giving the tyres any rest, because he's still over the back of Daniel Francis. Daniel Francis closes the door there, doesn't allow Fury any space whatsoever. So Fury tries to jump up the curb, doesn't get it, but he's got the run now coming towards the second chicane.
He gets a good run, and that's going to put him...
He's lost it. He's lost it.
Did he lose it? Was there... Yeah, there didn't sound like there was any contact.
Yeah, I think he's just touched...
who's that? That's Sutty.
Yeah, that's Sutty off again.
Yeah, Fury's mum's just put in the chat that he said it's been cutting out, so doing the same thing as what it was doing Wednesday night. So I wonder if that's been some of Fury's problems tonight then. And then that's what's... Yeah, he's struggling here now. That could give Daniel Francis the P6. Sutty's then had another spin. That's put him well off the back of Falgast of P4 now. As Veilside's on to lap 32. Tell you what, Disco could get himself ahead of Andy before the end of this one.
Yeah, Disco's not too far off as... Daniel Francis is a lap down from Sutty apex.
Yeah.
So Daniel Francis can't get here, but yeah.
Did you hear Fury's engine there? Just
just kind of, you just hear it kind of like misfire, and it just cut out for a second. Yeah, he just had no.
He just can't. He cannot get it back on the power. Look.
Hey, it's just all of a sudden gone.
Something is not right with that car. It was doing this Wednesday. I was on board with him Wednesday with Liam, and it did the same thing where it made no noise, and then it just sort of died on him as Gary goes through as well. So Fury, well, look, it's gone again. He's retired. That is probably the safest thing to do. Fury there will still score points. He'll get points for 9th place, for 10th place, but what a shame for Fury, because what was started out to be a good night has ended in disaster, and hopefully he can get that one sorted out for Monday night for the GT5 finale. But Veilside here has lapped near enough everybody in this race. The only two people he hasn't lapped is Andy and Disco. And Falgast. Oh no, he has. He's got Falgast. He's got Disco just in front of him.
Yeah, he's got Disco just in front of him. So he's got 2 laps to lap Disco. So he could lap him. Yeah, I don't think he will unless Disco makes a mistake, and Andy will probably stay on the same lap. But yeah, I think X-Mark and Gary are quick.
Sorry, Fury's mum in the chat there. He's having as much trouble with his car as I am having with mine. Brilliant. X-Mark then. Gary, like Jamie's just said, X-Mark trying to now defend from Gary, who's had, these two have pretty much both had a rotten race in this one then, as they've gapped DJ Phil there within the 10 seconds of Daniel Francis. So Daniel could lose 2 more places here, although X-Mark just got himself on the gravel. He's not going to have the cleanest of runs through. Unlucky Fury, he did the right thing, says Fury's granddad. And Gary now has a great run. Just as Daniel Francis extends his gap, he'll know the gap is under 10 seconds, so he'll know that he's going to lose out to these two. And X-Mark wide, Gary round! Again, Gary 131. Daniel Francis could still hang on for the 6th place, although he's still under that 10-second limit of... yes, X-Mark is still under the 10-second limit of Daniel Francis and could still get away with it, as he only ran wide. He didn't lose the rear of the car, but at the minute, Gary having a terrible race. And I tell you what, even though Sutty's got damage, it's a shame Sutty's had a few spins, because he is matching Disco and Falgast here and could have been an interesting end to the race. But either way, it's Disco who's third at the minute, being caught by Falgast, who's being caught by Sutty. But this man is about to start the final lap of the race. He has lapped Disco. Wow, so Disco may be having a bit of a bother this lap. 140.1 for Valeside, and Disco face a 48. So yeah, that would say he's had a problem. And the gap's only 9 seconds to Falgast, so he needs to make sure he gets around the track relatively comfortably this time around. Does Disco?
Yeah, I won't say anything until Disco's crossed the line about getting a podium, because I don't want to curse him, because I know there might be a few angry messages if he spins and I've said something.
Valeside then on his way, 59 seconds. The only guy he hasn't lapped is Andy in P2. He's drove a great race. Dan and G would not have wanted to see this at all tonight. And Valeside at the minute doing a fantastic job. Has Disco had a moment?
He's still
going. He's still going.
Yeah, I think he's just taking it quite comfortably now, knowing that this is his last lap.
Daniel Francis and X-Mark, I think that gap is still around about the 8 to 9 second mark. So Vale, bit of a twitch, keeps it all together though, and the Corvette looks like it's going to take a solid win here.
Gary's just got X-Mark, so he's up into 7th place.
Oh, he is, and that means then that Daniel Francis may keep hold of his 6th place here.
Yeah, he's 14 seconds up the road, so if he can keep it there, then... Oh, Gary a little sideways out of there. Valeside's now coming to the last chicane.
He is indeed, and what a job for Valeside tonight. He's had a bit of a twitch there in that chicane, but he's drove brilliantly. He's not led all of this race, but he's saved it and worked hard. And Valeside Racing is going to take the round 4 win and possibly the lead of this championship. Disco McDiscoface is going to get himself a P3. Andy will get a P2 then, as he's the only one who isn't lapped. We see Falgast here coming home for a P4. Good drive from Falgast after what's been a pretty tough season. He's going to get that Sutty Apex, what could have been for him, with a P5 in the end. It could have been a 4th, it could have been a podium. Could we have had the Sutty Apex on the podium? What a shame for him. But at the minute, there he goes across the line. Look, bless him.
Daniel Francis, he's still full. Gary's made a mistake on this last lap because X-Mark's got back in front. So Daniel Francis,
he's going to take a 6th place. X-Mark then, he is going to finish 7th place.
Yeah.
Gary's only going to finish in 8th. So what a shame for Gary 131. And DJ Phil leads the Drivers' Starts Championship. Oh, well, not Championship. Leads the way in the Drivers' Starting races in terms of how many races he has. The experience of DJ Phil. We'll get the Driver of the Day votes in now, guys. We'll get a word from Jamie about his Driver of the Day in just a minute. Great win, Valeside. Superb, buddy. Was carrying 35 damage on the front, 10 on the rear, 20 for 20 laps. Limped all the way home, said Disco McDiscoface. So what an effort from him as DJ Phil is about to cross the line, smashes into a wall and then another wall. Yeah,
and reverse.
Come on, Disco. Let's not mess around. You've got the most starts. We don't want to see any of that. So the top 3, get the top 3 in there then, Jamie, for a quick chat. As the fastest lap of the race, a 37.9 for Valeside. I've got a feeling, 37.9 from Valeside then is the fastest lap of the race. So a win and fastest lap for him. And while Jamie gets the drivers in for a quick interview, I'll just quickly do the standings. And what a championship we have on our hands. I will have to add Gary Sutty and Daniel Francis to the title fight. If they are going to race another week, then they can be put in the reverse grid order. But Valeside leads the way now by 14 points as we head to Watkins Glen, with the only G 14 points behind him in second. Daniel Unorthodox is 21 behind the championship leader. Then Falguest is now fourth with Disco fifth. Andy up into sixth place, so a real climb up the championship for him. X-Mart stays in seventh. Fury dropping down the order a little bit, down into P8 with DJ Phil ninth. BT Targa currently resides himself in P10. That Bozzy Boy in 11th. Nicky currently 12th with Grandad Steve 13th. The Much Nuts in P14. Mace Game at 50th. Obviously we'll sort Gary Sutty and Daniel Francis out a little later on, but we are joined by Disco and Valeside, so we'll start with Disco. And the disappointment, if you will, of last night turned into a podium tonight.
Aye, it's just I've been on the downward slide for a few weeks now, and it kind of felt okay for tonight, and then the rain came and it was just oh god. But no, it was a good race.
You look like you had some good pace, the two BMWs. Obviously you and Andy looked quite strong early on. Did that pace just fall away as the race went on, or?
No, I just had a little off at the start. When Valeside went, I went round as well, sort of into sector 3, carried the damage. It was about 20% on there, and again just counter steering the whole way around. Had a couple of errors here and there, but no, the pace was there if no damage was there.
How was the track tonight? Because there was no end of drivers, just seemed to struggle on losing the rear end of the car.
Just puddles in key areas, I think. A couple of the chicanes had puddles on the entries, like right on the apex, so you were having to just adjust slightly. Wasn't too bad generally. Yeah, not bad.
Well done, mate. Congratulations. Look forward to the Watkins Glen next week.
Yeah, I've got pace there. If we can have dry conditions, I'm confident. No
worries, buddy. Well, well done tonight, mate, and good luck for next week.
Cheers, lads.
And we've got Valeside in as well, who's taken his second win of the season and leads the championship now by 14 points. Did you have a smile on your face when there was no unorthodox and G couldn't make the start?
No, to be honest, I was looking forward to race with them, but I don't know what happened with G. I think he disconnected, and Dan, I think he's busy.
Yeah, Dan absent tonight.
I was looking forward to race with Fords, to be honest, but it is what it is.
Now, it was very patient at the start from yourself. It was yourself, Fury, Maze, Gamer, Andy and Disco, all sort of 5 for the lead at one point, and you was very patient, and as others sort of fell off, you just plodded on your way and took a nice victory.
Yeah, my setup was really conservative, so I was trying to wait and see who's making the mistakes, and I would attack after the first half, but almost everyone made the mistake, so it was lucky for me. I made a couple of mistakes as well. There was puddles just after the chicane. I spun I think 1 or 2. It was hard, to be honest. I'm sweating. I'm water now. So.
Well done tonight, mate. Watkins Glen, same as I asked Disco. Is it a track you feel comfortable at? What can the Corvette do around there next week?
I don't know. I hope Fords are slower than Chevrolets and BMWs. So I don't know. I don't like the track, to be honest, but it's alright. We'll see.
Well done, buddy. Jamie, any final thoughts from yourself?
Yeah, so good night. Good night's racing. Quite a few mistakes, but it was just due to challenging conditions. But yeah, hopefully G and Unorthodox will be back next week when we can resume this great title battle.
Indeed we can. No Andy in then, so we'll hopefully talk to him at a later date, but great result for Andy nonetheless, and Falguest as well, who had a cracking drive for himself. But we'll be back Monday night then for the finale of the GT5s. Can myself, Unorthodox or D-Biggs take that one? 5 points separate the top 3 around the lovely Knockhill circuit, which I've been told is going to be wet, so I mean you couldn't have any other weather for Knockhill, let's be honest. That's going to be an interesting one.
Your boat for Knockhill.
That's going to be an interesting one on Monday night. We'll be back with the Pro-Am and the Pro around Laguna Seca. I forgot where was that next week. We'll be back with the Pro around Laguna Seca next Wednesday and Thursday night, and we'll be back next Friday night with the GTEs around Watkins Glen. But from all of us here at Simplay Motorsport, have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday night. Take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.